Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless Official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Sharon's kidnapping derailed, Nick races to stop Matt? Sharon Newman's kidnapping may be derailed. Will Nick Newman rush to put an end to Matt Clark, also known as Mitch Bacall, before it's too late? Although Matt is still pretending he's Mitch at this point, Nick and Sharon are right about him being their old nemesis. Matt is the same monster he's always been, no matter what he's calling himself these days. Since Detective Burrow is being paid to do what Matt wants, it might be him who took Noah into custody. That same preview video shows Sharon freaking out over what seems to be the fire alarm at her hotel, where Matt shows up on her doorstep. It'll be obvious that Matt's ready to unleash his wrath, so he might have kidnapping plans for Sharon, too. Of course, Sharon has been abducted way too many times in her last few storylines. Do we really need to see another kidnapping crisis for Sharon? YNR may not let it get that far if Nick barges in and stops Matt from turning this into more Sharon abduction drama. Nick may throw another fist at Matt's face and kick off an epic brawl as he works to protect Sharon. At some point, Sharon and Nick may be able to arrest Matt. We know that Nick and Sharon will wind up thinking they have the upper hand on Matt by the time they leave Los Angeles. Sharon and Nick will obviously be wrong about that, since Matt's going to follow them to Genoa City down the road. In the meantime, Matt will wreak much more havoc in LA first, so Sharon's kidnapping may be thwarted as the next phase of this storyline. Sharon Newman's kidnapping may be derailed, but not before danger slams into her life with a force that feels all too familiar, all too reminiscent of the nightmares she thought she had finally put behind her. As this Los Angeles arc barrels toward its next terrifying crescendo, the walls are already closing in around Sharon, Nick, and their still shell-shocked son, Noah, whose own abduction has left him bruised not just in body but in spirit. The realization is sinking in fast. Matt Clark, no matter what name he hides behind, no matter how convincingly he slips into the identity of Mitch Bacall, is exactly the same monster he has always been, just wearing a sleeker disguise and wielding new allies in places no one expected. Nick and Sharon have been right about him from the very beginning, but knowing the truth and stopping the truth are two different battles entirely, and right now Matt is operating with the confidence of a man who believes he is untouchable. Detective Burrow's corruption adds another suffocating layer of danger to the situation, since Burrow isn't just turning a blind eye to Matt's crimes, he's actively aiding them, cashing the checks that fund his willingness to drag innocent people into Matt's vendettas. Noah's captivity was the first horrific sign of how far Burrow is willing to go, and every clue that comes to light makes it clearer that this man may have paved the way for Matt's sick revenge playbook to expand even further. But the nightmare doesn't stop with Noah, because Matt has shifted his sights back to the woman who has haunted his obsession for decades. Sharon's hotel hallway should have been the place she could catch her breath after a day of chaos, but instead it becomes the stage for the next phase of Matt's deranged plan. The preview footage shows her jolting at the sound of the fire alarm, a sharp, shrill warning that doesn't feel like an accident at all. Sharon knows the difference between ordinary fear and Matt Clark fear, and the moment she opens that door and sees Mitch standing there, eyes cold, smile thin, posture radiating threat, her instincts ignite. The fire alarm isn't just noise, it's a trap. A cover. A way to disorient her while Matt closes in. He's ready to unleash his wrath, ready to drag Sharon into whatever twisted vision he's been constructing behind those carefully crafted lies. And while Sharon is no stranger to kidnappings, having been abducted far too many times in her last few storylines, to the point where fans and characters alike are exhausted by the repetition, there's something particularly chilling about Matt attempting it again. This isn't just another random criminal targeting her. This is the man who once shaped entire years of trauma for her. The man who cost her pieces of her peace, her freedom, her safety. And he wants to do it again. But YNR seems poised to subvert the predictable. They may not let Sharon fall into yet another full-blown kidnapping arc this time. Not if Nick Newman has anything to say about it. Nick's instincts have been screaming at him all day, ever since he saw the first signs that Matt was tightening his grip on their family. He has already thrown one fist into Matt's jaw in LA, fueled by the kind of ferocity only a father protecting his loved ones can muster. If he senses that Sharon is in danger, that Mitch is inches away from pulling her into the nightmare Noah just escaped, Nick will not hesitate. With adrenaline pumping and fear for Sharon overriding every other thought, Nick races to her hotel just as the fire alarm blares through the corridor, pounding on doors, yelling her name, praying he isn't too late. And then he sees it, Matt standing in Sharon's doorway, his posture tense, his hand reaching just slightly toward her arm as if preparing to drag her inside. That is all it takes. In seconds, Nick launches himself at Matt, slamming into him with enough force to take them both to the floor. Chaos erupts, fists fly, furniture splinters, bodies crash into walls as Nick fights like a man who has nothing left to lose. Sharon, caught between terror and fury, tries to intervene, grabbing at Matt, yelling for him to stop, desperate to keep Nick from being hurt again. But Matt is stronger than last time, angrier, more unhinged, and he fights with the desperation of a cornered predator. Security alarms echo in the background, guests scream, and yet the war between Matt and Nick eclipses everything. This is not just a brawl, this is decades of rage, betrayal, trauma, and unresolved vengeance exploding into the hallway of a hotel that will never forget the night two men tried to destroy each other for the soul of the same woman. And yet, even amid the brutality, Sharon manages to make a move that changes everything. She grabs Nick's phone, dials emergency services, and demands help. Not just from local authorities, she specifically demands higher-up intervention, tipping off the system that Matt Clark's crimes extend far past LA's city limits. Once backup storms in, it's enough pressure to force Matt into temporary retreat, allowing Nick and Sharon to regain the upper hand. For a moment, they believe they've finally beaten him. Once Matt is handcuffed, hauled to his feet, and shoved toward the waiting patrol car, Nick and Sharon feel the breath they've been holding for hours release all at once. They look at each other with a profound mix of relief and exhaustion, a silent acknowledgement that they managed to stop the kidnapping before it began, that Sharon, for once, did not have to endure another abduction trauma. They truly think it's over. They think Matt's reign of terror has been interrupted, that law enforcement is finally stepping in where LA's corrupt detectives failed. And as they prepare to leave Los Angeles behind, to return home with Noah and reshape their lives around healing rather than chaos, they really believe they've put an end to Matt's torment. But soap heroes are always most vulnerable the moment they think they've won. What Nick and Sharon do not, and cannot, realize is that Matt Clark is not finished. Not even close. The arrest is temporary, a roadblock rather than a conclusion. Matt has already manipulated LA officials, already bought loyalty from men like Detective Burrow, already woven enough false identities and legal loopholes to guarantee that he will be out sooner than anyone expects. And once he is, he will take the fight directly to them, not in Los Angeles, but in Genoa City, where old wounds run deepest and where his vengeance will land its next blows. For now, though, LA will suffer the brunt of his unraveling. Sharon's almost kidnapping becomes only one disaster in a series of escalating attacks Matt unleashes before he departs California. Fires, threats, betrayals, covert operations, all designed to keep Nick and Sharon off balance until the moment he resurfaces in their hometown with a plan even darker than the one he attempted here. Sharon's kidnapping may have been thwarted this time, saved by Nick's ferocity and their shared determination to dismantle Matt's plans, but the storyline is nowhere near finished. In fact, this near miss only sets the stage for the next terrifying chapter, one where Matt's obsession sharpens into something even more dangerous. Nick and Sharon leave Los Angeles believing they have the upper hand, but the truth is far more chilling. Matt Clark is already 2 steps ahead, watching, waiting, planning his return. And when he resurfaces in Genoa City, everyone they love will be in the crosshairs. But as Nick, Sharon, and Noah pack up their lives in that sterile, too bright Los Angeles suite, stuffing trauma into suitcases alongside crumpled clothes and half-zipped bags, they have no idea that the real storm is only beginning to churn, no idea that Matt Clark is already weaving a path back into their world with a vengeance so sharp it feels like a blade pressed against the future. For while Nick and Sharon take Noah's trembling silence as a sign that their son just needs space to heal, they completely miss the fact that Noah's eyes keep darting to the door, keeps flickering with the terror of someone who knows something the others don't, someone who knows Matt's capture wasn't clean, wasn't secure, wasn't real. Noah remembers the moment in that grimy basement where Detective Burrow leaned in close to him and hissed that Matt always had a backup plan, that Noah would never be free of him, that he should keep his mouth shut if he wanted his parents to stay alive. Noah wants to tell Nick, wants to tell Sharon that Matt has people everywhere, but the weight of that threat clamps down on his chest like iron bands, silencing every scream trapped inside him. Meanwhile, across town, Matt sits in the back of a police car, hands cuffed but mind sharp as razors, a smirk twitching at the corner of his mouth because he knows exactly what's coming. The officers driving him try to act confident, but Matt sees the nervous flicker in their rearview mirror, the sideways glances that tell him that they, too, have been bought. The moment the cruiser turns off the main road into a shadowy industrial lot, Matt's smirk breaks into a cold, triumphant grin. The doors open. A badge gleams. The cuffs are removed. Detective Burrow steps forward, not even bothering to hide his involvement anymore. "You didn't think this was really over, did you?" he taunts in a low growl, and Matt laughs, the kind of laugh that chills the soul, the kind of laugh that signals a man who thrives on destruction. Instead of retreating into the night, Matt begins plotting his departure for Genoa City with Burrow's eager assistance, but not before unleashing one last round of chaos in LA, a farewell gift soaked in terror. As Nick, Sharon, and Noah get closer to the airport, they start hearing sirens screaming in every direction. When Sharon glances out the window at a plume of smoke curling into the sky, her stomach twists. Minutes later, Nick's phone buzzes with a security alert: Matt Clark's holding facility has been compromised. Which means the man they thought was safely in custody is once again loose, with no one knowing where he is or who he's targeting. Sharon grips Nick's arm as though bracing herself against gravity itself. Nick reaches for her hand but doesn't speak, because they've both lived this nightmare before. They know exactly how Matt operates. He doesn't escape so he can run. He escapes so he can hunt. They push forward anyway, ushering Noah through the terminal, boarding the plane with the tension of people waiting for a bomb to go off. They think getting home will put space between them and the madness. They think Genoa City offers safety. But Matt has already anticipated this. He boards a private jet just hours later, one provided by a shady investor whose motives remain unknown but whose loyalty to Matt is unmistakable. And as Matt stares out the small oval window at the shrinking LA skyline, he murmurs under his breath, "Home sweet home, Sharon." Meanwhile, back in GC, life hums as usual, completely unaware that a nightmare is about to descend. Faith is preparing a delayed welcome home dinner for her brother Noah, excited to fill the house with warmth after weeks of cold worry. Mariah and Tessa are readying the living room with candles and soft music, happy tears brimming at the thought of the family finally coming back together. Even Summer, sensing something is off with Sharon despite their complicated history, leaves a kind voicemail offering support. Little do they know that Matt Clark's jet will be landing on a private airstrip just outside the city limits before nightfall. But the real twist, the one that neither Nick nor Sharon nor even Noah could ever have predicted, is that Matt isn't returning simply to torment Sharon. He's returning to burn every Newman bridge with surgical precision, starting with the one that matters most, Nick's world. Nick has always been the roadblock, the barrier, the obstacle who has stood between Matt and the destruction he craves. This time Matt plans to dismantle Nick piece by piece, starting with the people Nick loves most. His first move is quiet, subtle, and devastating. He contacts a disguised network of digital mercenaries who specialize in identity fabrication. In less than an hour, he has a new alias, a new bank account, a new slate of credentials that allow him to slip into Genoa City without so much as a blip on law enforcement's radar. But the true horror begins when Matt taps into Noah's private messages he forced Noah to send himself while he was being held captive. There are hidden clues Noah didn't even realize he was forced to leave behind, digital breadcrumbs designed not to help him escape but to help Matt find new targets. And those targets include Faith, who has just posted a smiling photo on social media about waiting for her family to return. Matt sees it. And he smiles. Meanwhile, the plane carrying Nick, Sharon, and Noah touches down in Genoa City without incident. The second they step off, they're flooded with the comforting familiarity of home, the glowing overhead lights, the smell of coffee drifting from the nearby kiosk, the soft hum of airport chatter. But beneath that comfort lies a subtle unease. Sharon feels it first, her instincts prickling like tiny electric shocks along her spine. Nick senses it too but pushes the feeling aside, determined to get his family home and safe behind locked doors. Noah follows silently, head down, shoulders hunched, haunted by the threat Burrow whispered in his ear. As they step outside the airport into the cool night air, their SUV waits for them. They climb in. They drive toward home. And not one of them realizes that a black sedan 2 cars behind is following every turn they make. Matt watches their silhouettes in the reflection of his windshield, eyes glowing with triumph. They have no clue he's already here. No clue he's already chosen his first place of attack. As Nick pulls into the driveway, Faith comes flying out the front door, tears in her eyes, laughter escaping her in relief. She hugs Noah tightly, whispering that she was terrified she'd never see him again. Sharon's arms wrap around them both. Nick stands behind them, watching the scene with emotion tightening his throat. It feels like victory. It feels like healing. It feels like hope. And yet, across the street, Matt watches from behind the tinted window of his sedan, jaw clenched, pulse steady, mind calculated. He can see every face clearly, Faith's joy, Noah's tremors, Sharon's relief, Nick's protective stance. And he studies them with the intensity of a predator analyzing prey. Later that night, when the house quiets and the family finally settles in, Matt moves closer. He parks 2 blocks away and begins walking toward the Newman home, darkness cloaking him like an old friend. He approaches slowly, savoring the thrill, savoring the anticipation of the destruction he's about to unleash. And then, it happens. A dog barks. A light flips on. A car alarm suddenly chirps from a nearby driveway. Matt halts, melting into the shadows, instinctively assessing the situation. Something feels off. People are awake. Moving. Watching. He isn't ready to be seen. Not yet. Not until the perfect moment. So he retreats for now, slipping away unseen, back into his car, back into the web of chaos he plans to spin across Genoa City like a poisonous fog. The next wave of the storyline begins at sunrise. Sharon wakes with a jolt, a stab of anxiety piercing her chest as though warning her that something is terribly wrong. Nick is already out of bed, pacing the living room, phone in hand, muttering about the LAPD's failure to secure Matt. Noah hasn't slept at all, sitting at the kitchen table in silence, staring at the same glass of water he poured hours ago. Faith tries to lighten the mood but even she feels the weight, the heaviness, the lingering dread. And then, right as Sharon steps outside to grab the morning paper, a small act she hopes will help her feel normal again, she stops dead in her tracks. On the porch sits a single white envelope. Her name is written on it in handwriting she knows too well. Her blood turns ice cold. Her fingers tremble as she opens it. Inside is a single sheet of paper. 1 sentence. Round 2 starts now. Sharon stumbles backward, gasping. Nick rushes to her side, grabbing the letter, scanning it, fury and fear exploding across his face. Noah's breath hitches. Faith screams. And in that instant, they all know the truth, Matt Clark isn't just back. He's here. In Genoa City. Watching. Waiting. Hunting. And round 2 has already begun. Nick doesn't waste a second after reading that chilling note, he storms inside, locking the door behind him as if a deadbolt could stop a madman like Matt Clark, but it's instinctual, protective, primal, the kind of movement that comes from a father who feels danger breathing directly down his neck. Sharon follows him in a daze, the letter still clutched between her trembling fingers, her mind spinning with memories she's spent decades trying to bury, dark rooms, locked doors, Matt's voice whispering threats she was sure she'd never hear again. Noah collapses into a chair, shaking so violently Faith thinks he's having a panic attack, while Faith herself hovers protectively around him, her face pale as milk. Nick grabs his phone and immediately calls Chance, his voice strained and sharp as he explains that Matt isn't just at large, he's in their neighborhood, targeting their family, escalating his violence with precision and purpose. Sharon keeps glancing toward the windows, expecting to see Matt's silhouette lurking in the yard, expecting that any second he'll crash through the glass or kick down their door, because that's how he operates, quick, cruel, unstoppable. But the outside world looks calm, almost deceptively peaceful, the sky painted pink with early morning light, the kind of sunrise that should bring comfort, not terror. When Chance arrives minutes later, siren silent, he steps inside with the expression of a man who knows he's already 3 steps behind a predator, and Nick thrusts the letter into his hands, demanding answers, demanding action. Chance reads it with a frown so deep it carves new lines into his forehead, and he promises increased patrol, surveillance, protection, but Nick doesn't want patrol cars, he wants Matt captured, caged, erased from their lives forever. Meanwhile, across town, Matt watches their panic unfold through a secure feed on his burner phone, because he planted a microscopic camera in Sharon's porch light the night he lurked outside, waiting to strike. He wanted to witness the moment his message detonated inside their home, wanted to see the exact second terror took root. And as Sharon clung to Nick, as Noah shook, as Faith cried into her hands, Matt felt a twisted surge of satisfaction that made his pulse race with exhilaration. But even with this victory, he isn't rushing. He's pacing his moves like a master chess player who enjoys the slow destruction of his opponent, psychological warfare before physical attack.